She fell for a homeless man at 3 a.m., the shocking truth about his hidden billionaire life. It was late, the kind of late where the world feels like it's holding its breath. Streetlights flickered like dying stars, casting shadows that twisted with every gust of wind. In the heart of the city, where dreams and despair collided, a chance encounter was about to unfold, a moment that would change everything. Jessica had just finished her shift when she spotted him. A man, ragged and disheveled, crouched against the cold brick wall. His beard was unkempt, and his clothes looked like they belonged to a different era. But there was something unnervingly magnetic about his deep-set blue eyes. They held stories, secrets, and maybe a touch of madness. She shivered, not from the biting chill but from the inexplicable pull she felt toward him. As she drew closer, she noticed the strange mix of scents surrounding him. It wasn't just the odor of stale cigarettes and sweat, there was also a faint whiff of something rich like aged leather or luxury perfume. The juxtaposition unsettled her. How could he seem so broken yet so intriguing? The air crackled with an unspoken tension. Startled, another passerby cast a sideways glance, eyebrows raised in judgment. "You shouldn't talk to him, Jess," murmured a woman clutching her designer bag. "He's just another drifter." The slight tremble in the woman's hand exposed a collective fear that gripped the crowd, yet Jessica felt her heart race instead. Why was she drawn to him like a moth to flame? Was it the darkness that drew people into their secrets, her curiosity heightened by tales of hidden treasures beneath the surface? She clenched her fists, her palms sweaty against the cool metal of her keys. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the words tumbled out, her eyes locked on him again. The street seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them in their own universe. "What's your story?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The glowing neon sign above them flickered ominously, casting shadows on the ground as he finally looked up, gaze piercing through her with an intensity that made her heart race. But before he could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground. A mufflerless truck roared down the street, drowning out his reply. For a moment, they both stood still, the chaos of the city swirling around them, heartbeat pounding in her ears. Then, just as quickly, he was gone, vanishing into the night like a flickering candle extinguished by the wind. Was he real? Had she imagined him all along? Jessica's mind raced, confusion mingling with an undeniable urgency to find him. The thrill of the unknown loomed large. What secrets was he hiding? Who was this man? And most importantly, what awaited her if she dared to follow the path he had seemingly paved in shadows? The night stretched infinitely ahead, thick with mystery. The cacophony of the city faded into an eerie silence as Jessica stood frozen, the spot where he had been felt suddenly hollow. She half turned, instinctively seeking his silhouette among the bustling crowd but finding nothing but the grey night air thick with uncertainty. Heart pounding, she edged forward, her breath coming quicker. This was madness. She barely knew him. This was the kind of reckless impulse that could get her into trouble, yet there was something brewing inside her, a restless whisper that urged her to take a leap into the unknown. Did he vanish out of fear? Or was there something more? The question struck like lightning in her chest, sharp and electric, igniting her curiosity. This man was not ordinary. She could feel it in her bones. She took a deep breath, trying to fend off the disapproval swirling around her from the onlookers. Ignoring the murmurings about spoiling her future, she turned, almost on instinct, toward the nearby alley that led deeper into the city's labyrinth. Shadows stretched like fingers, beckoning her toward an adventure she couldn't quite explain. Each step felt like a plunge into an abyss. Abandoning the safety of the streetlights, she ventured into the darkness, racing against the pulse of her own anxiety. Wasn't it said that magical encounters often lay just beneath the surface? What if this was one of those moments? The alley was cloaked in silence, the pungent aroma of dampness and decay mixing with an undercurrent of something rich and intoxicating. As she walked, her shoes scuffed against the unforgiving ground, echoes bouncing back like ghosts of the past. Would he be waiting for her? Or was this a wild goose chase driven by foolish infatuation? Suddenly, a soft sound broke through her thoughts, a quiet, almost melodic hum. It drifted from the shadows ahead, tantalizing and otherworldly. Jessica pressed on, heart racing. Was he in there? The thought of him sent a thrill of fear and excitement coursing through her. As she rounded a corner, her breath caught. He was there. But he wasn't alone. Two figures flanked him, sharply dressed in contrasting styles. One wore a blazer that seemed too tailored for the murky surroundings, while the other held a sleek briefcase glinting against the dim light. They stood just out of reach, exchanging hurried words. Their faces were obscured, but the tension in the air was palpable. "No one can know," the man said. His voice, though low, rang clear, sending chills down Jessica's spine. She crouched behind a dumpster, heart thudding as she strained to hear more. Who were these people? Why did they care about him? And what secrets did they hold that made them look around nervously, as if the shadows themselves were eavesdropping? Just as she leaned in further, the tallest figure suddenly pivoted, eyes scanning the shadows. Jessica jerked back, her heart now pounding a frantic rhythm. Did they see her? Fear coursed through her veins. Should she run? Or should she risk everything to learn the truth? Then, without warning, he stepped forward into the light, a flash of recognition as his haunting blue eyes locked onto hers. For an instant, the world around them melted away, just the two of them suspended in an electric moment. "Jessica!" He shouted, but not with alarm. Rather, it was a calling, a command that sent fresh adrenaline flooding her system. "You shouldn't be here. It's dangerous." Uncertainty wrapped around her like a heavy fog. What was she about to uncover? Her heart raced, caught between exhilaration and terror as the shadows shifted behind him, threatening to swallow her whole. With her breath caught in her throat, she knew this was only the beginning of a dark journey. What would she do now? And what revelations awaited in the depths of this night? As the words left his lips, a ripple of urgency passed through Jessica. Her heart hammered like a wild drum, reverberating in her chest as the reality of the moment crashed down around her. The fleeting connection they had shared seemed both thrilling and dangerous, drawing her closer even as instinct told her to retreat. Dangerous? She echoed, confusion swirling in her mind like a storm. She wanted to trust his warning, but every fiber of her being urged her to stay. What do you mean? Before he could answer, the two figures turned fully to face them, assessing the situation with cold eyes. The man in the blazer stepped forward, a menacing edge to his movements. "You've brought trouble into our meeting. This can't happen here." His voice was steel, commanding authority that sent shivers down Jessica's spine. She glanced at him, the man she barely knew but felt inexplicably drawn to. His expression was intent, eyes flickering to the shadows as if gauging their risk. Jessica took a breath, trying to steady herself, searching his face for reassurance, anything to pierce the tension. "Get out of here, Jessica. Now." He urged, a hint of desperation creeping in. But she stood her ground. She wouldn't let fear dictate her actions, not when questions spun wildly in her mind. "Who are they?" she challenged, casting a glance back at the figures. Their presence felt threatening, overshadowing the fleeting magic that had brought her here. "It doesn't matter who they are, what matters is that you're here," he hissed, but it was too late. The second figure with the briefcase took a step forward, eyes narrowing with calculation. Jessica felt a weight settle in her stomach. The energy was shifting, turning dangerous. "Leave her alone," the man said, his voice low, icy resolve mixing with concern. "Let her go." The crowd behind them pulsed like a living entity, oblivious to the tension erupting in the alley. Jessica felt the prickling sensation of eyes wandering, each second stretching like an eternity. You really think you can walk away from this? The slick-haired man with the briefcase sneered, folding his arms with a confidence that felt misplaced in these shadowed depths. She shouldn't even know you exist. Fear gripped Jessica, a tightening claw around her throat. They weren't just strangers. They were powerful, and she could sense it deep within her. In a city full of facades, she had stumbled onto something real. Something sinister. There's so much you don't understand, he said softly, cutting through the tension. But I'll explain everything if you let me protect you. With those words, the future she had envisioned faltered. What was waiting for her outside the safety of this moment? She didn't know why she felt compelled, she didn't know why she trusted him. But she did, then, without warning, the door of the building behind them creaked open, and a flicker of movement poured into the alley, shifting the dynamics once more. Jessica turned her head, heart racing. Had they been followed? The new figure melded into the shadows, obscured. Tension thickened the air, and her instincts screamed to flee while she still could. Yet something deep within also compelled her to face the unknown, to confront whatever had drawn her to this moment. Jessica, please, he implored, taking a step closer. Trust me. Trust your instincts. Those last words echoed as footsteps approached, the night holding secrets she couldn't yet fathom. As a third figure emerged from the dark, everything shifted, leaving her breathless with uncertainty. Who were these people? What life had she unwittingly stepped into? And the most shocking question of all, did the man facing her truly belong to this world of shadows, or was he a part of something even darker? The air around her crackled with possibilities, and an unseen thread pulled tighter. Would she unravel it, or would it ensnare her completely? As the shadows deepened, Jessica stood on the precipice of a choice. What lay ahead was shrouded in mystery, but she knew one thing: it was a path that demanded courage like never before. The newcomer stepped forward, revealing a figure cloaked in a dark hoodie that obscured their face. The atmosphere felt electric as the crowd's whispered murmurs swirled like leaves caught in a tempest. Jessica's heart raced at the unexpected arrival, a visceral response that threatened to spiral into panic. Who's that? She breathed, forcing her eyes to stay locked on the shadowy figure. The man beside her took a protective stance, shoulders squared, eyes darting between the crackling edges of the dim light. I don't know, he admitted, urgency creeping into his voice. But stay close. The hooded figure paused, almost testing the tension, then removed the hood with a sudden motion. Jessica's breath caught. The face of a woman, fierce and striking, looked back at her, a sharp jawline and eyes like steel. There was an intensity that made Jessica wonder if this was not just a stranger but someone tangled deeply within the dark threads of this night. What are you doing here? The woman's voice cut through the alley, layered with authority. You're not supposed to be here. Neither are they, the man replied, his voice steady but tinged with irritation. Jessica felt the weight of the moment. This was more than a simple scuffle between strangers. The stakes were rising, morphing into a scene she had never imagined entering. The woman's gaze locked onto her, piercing through Jessica's uncertainty. You don't know what you're walking into, she warned, her tone carrying the edge of knowledge, secrets buried deep beneath layers of allegiance and rivalry. Get out of my way, the slick-haired man hissed, his bravado cracking slightly as his eyes darted between the two women, sensing a crossroads of danger. Not a chance. The woman stood her ground, arms crossed defiantly. Jessica felt her pulse thunder in her ears as the air thickened with tension. Choices loomed around her, swift and commanding. The menacing figures seemed poised to strike, their plans brewing like a storm on the horizon. It was not just about her anymore, it was about secrets unspooling into the night and alliances that lived in the shadows. Jessica, the man at her side urged. You need to trust me. But how could she? Shadows danced around them, and she felt her instincts screaming at her, telling her to run. But a strange pull kept her rooted. Was it the thrill of danger? Or was it the undeniable connection she shared with the man beside her, a tether that had grown inexplicably strong in this short time? The hooded woman smiled, a quick flash that seemed more like a warning than an invitation. You have no idea how deep this goes. The things that happen in the dark don't stay there, Jessica. They seep into your soul. Jessica's mind raced. What could this woman possibly know about her? Enough. The slick-haired man shouted, frustration spilling into anger. This is getting out of control. He lunged forward, but the hooded woman moved like lightning, intercepting him with practiced ease. The alley erupted into chaos, shouting, jostling, the crowd now a writhing mass of people drawn to the escalating confrontation. Jessica, get back! The man yelled, pulling her away as they backed toward the mouth of the alley, the tumult swirling behind them. Her mind spun, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had to make a choice: remain and face the turmoil, or flee into the unknown, leaving behind a world of shadows that had just revealed glimpses of its reality. What's coming? She asked, glancing at the man beside her, begging for answers amidst the chaos that he looked deep into her eyes, the weight of their shared moment pressing heavily between them. You need to choose, Jessica. Trust me or follow them. But know this, the moment you step away, you may lose more than you could ever gain. And just like that, she stood at the edge of a cliff, ready to take the leap. But what lay below stirred with uncertainty, gripping her tightly as she wrestled with the unknown. What if she chose wrong? What if the truth was darker than she could imagine? Facing a decision that could change everything. Jessica felt the world tilt beneath her. And as the dust settled in the alley, the thrill of danger intertwined with an overwhelming urge to know the truth. What would she discover if she followed the shadows? The shadows pulsed around them, a swirling mass of fear and anticipation. Jessica's instincts screamed for her to bolt, but the man beside her held her gaze steady, a foundation in a storm of chaos. The hooded woman's stance was unwavering, and a smirk etched into her features like a cat ready to pounce. Make your choice, Jessica, the woman called out, her voice slicing through the pandemonium. Every part of Jessica wanted to flee, to evade whatever darkness threatened the very fabric of her life. Yet the gravity of the moment pulled at her a whisper of fate that tugged her deeper into the abyss. What do you know about me? She countered, her voice trembling slightly. The woman's eyes glinted with something mystical, unsettling. I know more than you can imagine, she spat, inching closer. An electric tension crackled as their eyes locked, a silent duel of wills. That utterance struck a chord within Jessica. What lifelong secrets could this stranger unravel? Enough talk. The slick-haired man's voice thundered like a breaking dam, interrupting their confrontation. His patience, worn thin, fueled his aggression as he edged toward the woman. This isn't the time for games. As the chaos escalated, Jessica stole a glance behind her, towards the exit of the alley. She could leave, she could retreat. But that same pull that clutched at her heart refused to loosen its grip. This wasn't simply about the dark figure before her anymore. It felt personal. Suddenly, a sharp crack pierced through the murmurs, a gunshot. Silence enveloped the space, followed by overwhelming panic. Jessica's breath hitched in her throat, and she turned at the sound, dread pooling in her stomach. Eyes wide, she found the source, a shadowy figure at the alley's far end. Run! The man next to her shouted, instinctively tugging her back as the crowd erupted. People scattered like startled birds, their screams ricocheting off the alley walls. In a split second, the hooded woman lunged forward, and her fingers grasped the slick-haired man's collar. Their struggle mirrored the cacophony around them, an explosive blend of fury and desperation. Jessica jerked instinctively away from the fight, the urgency coursing through her veins like fire. What had she stepped into? Keep moving. The man urged, eyes filled with fierce determination. She wanted to listen, wanted to trust him. But confusion loomed heavy between them. We can't just leave them. Jessica protested, torn between empathy and self-preservation. They'll only drag you down with them. His voice was urgent, almost pleading now. Her heart fluttered as she weighed her choices. Should she abandon the unknown bond she felt with the man and run for safety? Or did staying mean plunging into something more dangerous than she could envision? The gunshot reverberated in her mind, amplifying the gravity of the choice unfolding before her. A sharp inhale filled her lungs, and she felt the urgency transform into a burning desire for answers. But what kind of answers lurked in the shadows? As Jessica watched the fight intensify, a figure emerged from the corner of her eye, stepping toward her with deliberate pace, broad shoulders, ominous presence. The alleyway grew darker, and tension filled the air like suffocating smoke, making it hard to breathe. "Jessica!" The man shouted again, but there was urgency mixed with panic, a hint of fear creeping in. "Please, trust me. Come with me now." In that moment, everything converged: the stakes, the danger, the pull she felt for the man beside her. Could stepping into the shadows be her salvation? Her heart raced, and she felt the weight of her choices bearing down on her. Just as she made a move toward him, another loud crash echoed behind the scuffle, and she froze. Was it too late? Did she have time to decipher the secrets waiting in the darkness? What awaited on the other side of the chaos? Would she find enlightenment or something far more sinister? The choices closed in around her like a noose, each second swelling with blurred prospects. "Make a decision, Jessica," both voices echoed just as thunder rolls before a storm. Again, the shadows shifted as chaos danced dangerously close, and she could only wonder, could she really outrun the truth hidden within them? Jessica's feet felt glued to the pavement as adrenaline coursed through her, battling with her instinct to escape. She glanced at the slick-haired man, caught in a violent tug-of-war with the hooded woman. The air thickened with a sense of impending doom, and every sound hit her like a drum, every shout, every gasp. "Jessica!" It was a plea, a raw emotion spilling from the man beside her as he pushed against the tide of chaos. His urgency cut through her hesitation, but fear held her imprisoned. What if she ran and left all this madness behind? What if the answers she sought were lost forever in that confusion? A chorus of violent shouts echoed through the alley, punctuated by another crash, this time closer. A glass bottle shattered underfoot, and the sound of scuffling feet filled the small space, blending with the cacophony of horror. Jessica's heart raced faster, the moment was fracturing, each heartbeat thundered in her ears. She made her choice. With a quick nod, she didn't just run, she sprinted, propelled by the fear of what lay behind as much as the possibility of freedom ahead. The man's grip tightened around her wrist as they barreled through the crowd, weaving past startled faces, wide eyes gleaming with fear and confusion. "Stay close," he commanded, his voice steady against the tumult. But she barely heard him. All she could think of was the pulling sensation in her gut where the shadows had beckoned her only moments before. Was she escaping or merely delaying the inevitable? The alley opened into a larger space, spilling into a street dimly lit by flickering street lamps. Jessica instinctively pressed against the cool brick wall, panting, her breath a cloud of exhaustion and terror. The clamor receded slightly, but the darkness behind her still loomed, waiting. What was that? She gasped, her voice nearly breaking. What just happened back there? Who the hell are they? Listen to me. He grabbed her shoulders, his intensity bringing her eyes to meet his. They're dangerous. We can't stop. Not now. His gaze flickered behind them, scanning the edge of the shadows as if they could swallow them up at any moment. She searched his expression, hoping to find clarity. But his torment mirrored her own. You're right. What do I do now? Trust me, he said, his words heavy with meaning. I'll explain everything. But first, we need to get somewhere safe. And just like that, the shadows seemed to recede, just for a moment, as they moved forward. The urgency to put distance between them and the chaos drove them towards a row of abandoned buildings ahead. As they tucked themselves into the darkened entry of an old storefront, Jessica fought the rising tide of questions. Each breath settled heavier in her chest. What had she stepped into? Was trusting him a mistake? Jessica. His voice was softer now, laced with urgency. You don't know it yet, but this is bigger than you or me. That woman, she's not just after us. She wants something from you. What could she possibly want? Jessica's voice trembled, caught between denial and rising fear. The earlier thrill of danger was fading, replaced by the oppressive weight of the unknown. You're a key. Remember when I said you don't know who you are? He pulled her closer, the flicker of fear in his eyes matching her own. I think she knows something we don't. With her mind racing, scenes of the alley replayed in her head like a nightmare. The fight, the gunshot, the looming shadow. What do you mean? She couldn't finish her thought. What was she? Just an ordinary girl caught in a vortex. Before he could respond, a distant shout broke the stillness around them. In the heavy silence that followed, something shifted in the shadows of the deserted buildings. As if sensing their hiding spot, the darkness crackled with energy, a sinister reminder that they weren't free yet. Now what? Jessica whispered, the despair rising within her like a tide. Now we fight. The man stepped forward, a silent promise igniting behind his eyes as they both braced for whatever came next. Would they code their escape? Or would they confront the shadows that threatened to suffocate them? As a chilling wind whipped through the alley, it carried a whisper, a voice chillingly familiar. Jessica, what awaited her there, a battle or a betrayal? Would she have the strength to unearth the truth? Or would she again find herself trapped within the merciless shadows? The shadows seemed to pulse around them as if alive, and Jessica felt the air grow heavier, thick with suspense. She stood frozen for a moment, her heart hammering in her chest. Each breath she took felt labored, as if the weight of the world was pressing down on her. She turned to the man beside her, his face etched with determination, yet gripping fear lurked behind his eyes. Fight? With what? She whispered, the quiet of her voice contrasting sharply with the chaos that had just unraveled. I don't have anything. You have yourself, Jessica. And that's more powerful than you know, he urged, glancing around as if expecting an army to emerge from the depths of the alley. A shudder ran down her spine as the familiar voice echoed again, wrapping around her like a cold fog. Jessica, it was haunting, echoing memories she wished to forget. It reminded her of a life that felt distant but was ever present. Suddenly, the first thud of footsteps broke the silence, and panic ignited a fire in Jessica's veins. They're coming. She gasped, but the man was already in motion, pulling her deeper into the mouth of darkness that choked the entryway of the storefront. They maneuvered through crumbling shelves and dust-laden debris, stepping carefully as if any noise could give them away. Jessica's heart raced, and despite the fear coursing through her, a strange exhilaration bubbled within. Was this her life now? An unwitting player caught in a twisted game? Listen, he said, inching closer, his eyes narrowing. You need to focus. I'm going to protect you. But we have to move fast. Protect me? The term felt absurd. She wasn't a damsel in distress. She was a woman who had walked the streets alone, always wary yet fiercely independent. But now, everything had become labyrinthine, and how could she know where to step? Before she could respond, a shadow flickered a few feet away, darting between the columns of gloom. Then another. They were out there, hunting like predators honing in on their prey. He pressed his finger to his lips, signaling her to stay silent. A low whisper broke through the shroud. You have to remember, Jessica. This isn't just about survival. It's about who you are. Your past is more intertwined with all of this than you can imagine. Enough with the mysteries. She snapped, too strung out and shaken to hold her anger. How can you say that? You know me. What do you know? I know that you're more than just the girl in the shadows. His voice dropped lower, each word heavy with meaning. Whatever that woman wants, you mustn't let her take it from you. It will change everything. Jessica's thoughts spiraled, frantically searching for the meaning behind his words. She was just an ordinary girl trying to carve a path in the world. But now she felt like a chess piece, a pawn that could be sacrificed at any moment. A scream erupted from somewhere down the street, shattering the tension. What, I can't just sit here. Panic flooded her voice, and she swung around, ready to bolt, to confront whatever hunted her. The man caught her arm. No. We can't attract attention. They're looking for us, and we need to stay hidden until I figure this out. The door creaked as the shadows shifted outside, and in that moment, fear gripped Jessica. The sound belied the menacing presence lurking in the dark. The threat was closing in. Each second stretched into an abyss of dread. What if you're wrong? She breathed, the suffocating darkness pushing in closer. What if we're just making it worse? Then we'll figure it out together. But as the ground beneath them vibrated with chaotic footsteps, a chilling realization struck her: this wasn't just a fight for survival. It went deeper, wading into waters she had never ventured before. Suddenly, the storefront door slammed open with a deafening bang, the light flooding in, throwing their figures into stark relief. Jessica looked up, breath caught in her throat. Standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the night, was the hooded woman, the one they had fought to escape. A slow, sinister smile crept onto her face. "Hello, Jessica. I've been waiting for you." What had she stumbled into? Would escaping the shadows only lead her closer to the truth she was not ready to face? And could she truly trust the man by her side, or were they both marionettes bound to a twisted string of fate? Jessica's blood ran cold as the hooded woman's voice sliced through the tension. Time warped as Jessica's mind frantically tried to articulate the splintering dread deep within her. What did she want? Why was she here? The woman stepped closer, the low light creating an ominous halo around her figure. "How?" Jessica managed to choke out, her voice trembling. "Do you know my name?" The woman chuckled softly, a sound like gravel scraping against glass. "Dear Jessica, you have no idea how many eyes are watching you. You think you can just run away, but the truth is, you belong to this darkness now." In that moment, the man beside her shifted, his expression becoming a mask of resolve. "We need to go. Now." He stepped in front of Jessica like a shield, his eyes darting, calculating their escape. But the woman didn't seem deterred. Instead, she leaned casually against the doorframe, as if she were waiting for something, or someone. With a deep breath, the man took a step forward, muscles tense, like coiled steel. "You won't touch her," he warned, every word a challenge. "Oh, but I don't need to," the woman replied, her voice smooth as silk. "She's already in danger and, my dear," she glanced at Jessica, her gaze icy and penetrating. "I think you know exactly what I mean." A thud echoed in the distance, like the heartbeat of the approaching chaos. Jessica's heart raced. Was the woman toying with her? Suddenly, a flood of memories surged back, whispers of events that had been buried deep. Secrets she hadn't thought about in years. Visions of her past life twisted into nightmarish shapes, each revealing a thread that tied her to this moment. With a flick of her wrist, the woman beckoned shadows from the alley. Figures lurked in the half-light, eyes gleaming with malice, slowly breaking free from their hiding spots. Jessica felt the urge to scream, but the sound lodged in her throat, choking her. "No!" the man shouted, stepping protectively closer to Jessica. "They want something, and we won't give it to them." The figures began to advance, stepping into the dim light. Jessica saw the twisted faces, eyes wide with desire and fury, a band of the lost, trapped like shadows themselves. Her heart sank. They were not just looking for her, they wanted to consume everything about her, her very essence. "What do you want?" Jessica finally cried, voice trembling. It was a visceral plea, torn from the depths of her panic. "What could I possibly have that you'd want?" "Oh, Jessica," the hooded woman purred, her smile unfurling like petals of darkness. "You have more than you realize. But do you have the courage to find out?" The tension surged, a taut string ready to snap. Her breath quickened as the man's grip tightened on her arm. "Trust me, Jessica. We need to run, he urged, but steel had already latched onto her heart. Trust? How could she trust anyone in this web of deceit? Before she could voice her doubts, the figures lunged forward with a wild unpredictability, tearing through the darkness. The man yanked Jessica backward, dodging an outstretched hand just in time. This way! He shouted, leading her through a narrow gap beside a crumbling shelf. They stumbled into the alleyway, every instinct roaring to flee. The night air rushed around them, harsh and frigid, snapping them into alertness. But Jessica's mind raced with confusion. Who was she supposed to be in this chaos? They dashed toward a flickering streetlight, the only beacon in the oppressive night. Jessica could hear the rapid footsteps behind them, their pursuers gaining ground. Just keep moving, he shouted, his voice a lifeline amidst all the uncertainty. But even as they ran, a seed of dread buried itself deep within her. The hooded woman's words echoed in her mind. Could they outrun the truth? Would this night define who she was destined to become? With every step, Jessica felt the weight of her past pressing over her like an iron shroud, tightening with every heartbeat. They rounded a corner, veering into another darkened street, breaths coming sharply as her mind spiraled. Where would they go now? What awaited them at the end of this road? And as they escaped, was she striding into light or deeper into a labyrinth she could never truly leave? A fleeting doubt clawed at her mind as they entered a hollow stretch of darkness. Something was watching. Something that wasn't just outside, but crawling inside her, whispers of the truth she had yet to confront. Don't stop! The man yelled, the urgency breaking her murky thoughts. But just when they thought they were free, a chilling laughter reverberated through the night. Jessica turned, her heart racing, realizing the game had only just begun. What if she wasn't just a pawn? What if she held the key? The deepest question lingered, just out of reach. Was she the hunter or the hunted? And as they dashed onward, shadows flickered in the corners of her mind. She could almost feel them whispering secrets, drawing her back into the very heart of darkness. Would she dare to listen? Their escape thickened the air around them, the weight of pursuing shadows trailing mercilessly as Jessica's thoughts churned chaotically. Time seemed to slip, each second stretching into an eternity. Her mind struggled to catch up as adrenaline surged through her veins, thrumming a wild rhythm against her heart. Where are we going? She gasped, the icy wind stinging her face. Somewhere safe, he replied, breathless but resolute. Yet, his voice betrayed an echo of fear. I promise. A grim sense of foreboding strangled her instincts, but there was no stopping now. Not while those distorted faces, the lost souls, hunted them. Jessica reluctantly let him lead, gripping his arm as they sprinted past abandoned storefronts and flickering neon signs that cast suspicious shadows. Up ahead, a distant flicker caught her eye, a diner, its neon sign buzzing erratically. It stood like an oasis in the midst of the night's chaos. In there! She shouted, pointing. They dashed toward the door, hearts pounding in synchrony. Once inside, the warmth enveloped them like a shield. Jessica scanned the quiet space. A couple occupied a booth in the corner, their eyes widening as they took in the frantic pair. The counter stood empty, save for a sleepy waitress wiping down a table. Everything felt eerily normal, discovering their respite in this chaos. We need to blend in, the man whispered, suddenly alert. Act casual. But how could she? The hooded woman's laughter danced through her thoughts, relentlessly reminding her of the danger still lurking outside. Jessica glanced back at the door, fear snaking up her spine. Would their sanctuary hold? 2 coffees. Now, he instructed the waitress, his voice a tight wire. She nodded, already backing away toward the coffee pot. The man turned to Jessica with an intensity that pierced through his anxiety. I need you to focus. The diner is safe for now, but we can't stay long. We have to figure out what they want from you. What do you mean? She asked, confusion bubbling beneath her surface. Had it really been so simple? What do I have? He hesitated as if revealing something monumental. They want your memories, he said carefully. The woman, those creatures Max, she interrupted, realizing she had no idea what his name meant to her. How do you know this? He swallowed hard. Because I've seen it before. A pattern, a way they hunt. They're not after just anyone, Jessica, they're after you. An overwhelming wave of terror washed over her. But why? I'm nobody. Just a girl running away from a pointless life. No, he insisted. You're not. There is something special within you, the way you connect with memories, feelings. They want to drain your essence. Her breath caught, struggling to absorb it. What if I don't want to remember? Then you have to fight, he said, his gaze fierce. They'll try to invade your mind, test your resolve. Don't let them twist who you are. The waitress returned, pouring steaming coffee into chipped mugs. Everything okay? She asked, concern flickering on her face. Just some late-night trouble, Max replied, not breaking eye contact with Jessica. The ground beneath their feet felt ready to crack wide open, ready to take them both down into unknown depths. In that moment, a tremor shook the diner. Jessica's heart raced anew, glancing toward the door. A chill swept through her. Was it just a draft? Or had something followed them inside? The shadows curled at the edges of her thoughts, tightening like a noose. What happens if they find us? She asked, fear creeping into her voice. They can take over if you let them. We must get to the truth first, Max said. You are stronger than you know. As the weight of his words settled, the door burst open with a cacophony. The hooded woman stepped across the threshold, her dark figure slicing sharply through the diner's warmth. Welcome back, Jessica, she crooned, an insidious smile curling at the corners of her mouth. It seems you found a little hideaway. How charming, yet you're running out of time. Panic surged, and every face in the diner turned towards the darkness. Now spreading across their haven. Jessica felt trapped, like prey surrounded by a pack of wolves. Let me show you how it feels to truly belong, the woman whispered, her voice a seductive snake wrapping itself around Jessica's mind, and then it hit her. If she was to survive, she had to face the darkness within. But could she truly shoulder the truth that came with it? Before she could question herself further, the lights flickered violently, plunging the diner into brief darkness. All she could hear was the deadly silence that ensued, a silence thick with promise and dread. As the lights resumed, Jessica clenched her fists, determination igniting her insides. They would not take her so easily. Max, she whispered, resolute. What do I need to do? In that instant, the lines between hunter and hunted blurred, leaving a question hanging heavy in the air: would she embrace the darkness, or would she fight it? The woman's laughter echoed, promising chaos. Jessica steeled herself. This was only the beginning. What truths lay buried in her memory, waiting to be unleashed? Would knowing her past free her, or chain her forever? Jessica's heart raced as she locked eyes with the hooded woman. The tension crackled in the air like a live wire, sending shocks of fear through her body. Max stood firm beside her, but she could feel the pressure mounting around them, the shadows creeping closer, eager to consume everything in their wake. Your journey ends here, the woman hissed, her voice like ice slicing through the humid air. You can't run from who you are. Embrace it, and perhaps you might still have a choice. The diners stared wide-eyed, paralyzed by the growing chaos. Jessica's pulse thundered in her ears as she felt the weight of their expectations. Their lives were tangled in her fate now. An instinctual anger ignited within her. No longer could she run from the truth. You think you can take my memories? You don't even know me, she challenged, each word a stepping stone through her fear. The woman blinked, surprise flickering on her face. Oh, but I do, Jessica. You hold the key to a world you can't even begin to fathom. Your essence is a treasure. Stop. Max's voice cut through the air, demanding attention. You don't know what you're messing with. He took a step forward, eyes blazing with the same determination that sparked inside Jessica. Their connected resolve fueled something deep within her, a tiny ember igniting into a roaring flame. With a sudden rush of adrenaline, Jessica felt a surge of clarity. "Maybe you think I belong to the shadows," she said, "but you've underestimated me. I've spent my whole life fighting for my own identity." The waitress, trembling at the counter, stared wide-eyed as the atmosphere shifted. Jessica felt immense power pulse through her. She had spent too long being a ghost in her own life. It was time to reclaim what was hers. She turned to Max, who looked at her with fierce encouragement. "We can fight this. Together." Her voice was steady, unwavering. The shadows began to shift uneasily, taken aback by the sudden shift in her energy. The hooded woman narrowed her eyes, irritation seeping through her facade of calm. A cacophony of footsteps echoed from outside, causing the woman to momentarily retreat. Jessica and Max exchanged glances, the urgency palpable. "Now's our chance," he said. "Take control." The diner lights flickered again, and Jessica concentrated, drawing on everything she had endured. Her memories, both painful and beautiful, swirled through her mind like a storm, waiting to be unleashed. She reached deep within, feeling the warmth bloom from her core, pushing against the cold influence of the hooded figure. "Release me," she shouted, her voice transcending the fear surrounding her. Suddenly, energy exploded outward, washing over the diner. The hooded woman staggered back, eyes wide with realization. The shadows, like phantoms escaping the clutches of their master, pulled back as Jessica harnessed the storm within her. "Jessica." Max's voice was a steady anchor. "Remember who you are. You're not just a victim." As the light from within her grew brighter, Jessica connected with the essence of everyone surrounding her. Their fear, their hopes, surged through her like a wildfire. In that moment, she wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every person who had ever felt threatened or lost. The hooded woman shouted, bending under the force. "No. You can't." But Jessica stood firm, unyielding, the memories of her past converging into a single truth. She was stronger than any darkness that dared touch her. With one final surge of defiance, she released a wave of light that poured from her core, wrapping the diner in a protective cascade. The shadows vaporized, retreating into the night, howling like banshees as they drew back in fear. The hooded woman, now visibly shaken, stumbled toward the door, desperation clawing at her features before vanishing into the inky blackness of the outside world. As the light dimmed, silence enveloped the diner. The couple in the corner blinked, as if waking from a dream. The waitress stood agape, her expression a mix of awe and confusion. Jessica felt grounded as Max turned to her, breathless yet proud. "You did it, Jessica!" he exclaimed, his relief palpable. "I couldn't have done it without you," she interrupted, the weight of gratitude crashing down on her. As they slowly regained their breath, the reality of what just happened began to settle in. It was over. For now, at least. The journey still lay ahead, it wouldn't be easy. The past had opened wounds she wasn't sure she was ready to face, yet she felt newfound resolve ripple through her. "I need to find out who I really am," she said softly, determination locking her voice into a tangible strength. Max nodded, pride shining in his eyes. "We'll figure it out together." As the door of the diner swung shut behind them, marking the sealing of that chapter and opening to the next, Jessica realized she wasn't stepping into shadows. I was breaking through the darkness. And for the first time, she felt surrounded by light, with an urgent excitement coursing through her body. A new unknown awaited. "Let us go," she said, stepping back into the world with a fierce will, ready to discover her truths, uncover secrets, and most importantly, embrace the power she had hidden within. As they made their way into the vastness of the night, a promise hung in the air, binding them together as allies. The world awaited, filled with danger, with opportunities, and with memories yet to be reclaimed. Now, take action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section below with your thoughts and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And finally, Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this ending. Your support makes all the difference. Let us dive into the next adventure together.